Welcome to another episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Chad Marks. What's up, man?
What's going on, Staxx? How are you?
Same old shit, man. You see him sitting here in a prison cell.
Hey, that's a crazy background, right?
Yeah, that's what that is, man. Prison cell.
What's up?
So, last time we talked, man, we talked a little bit about how much time you had, 40 years, but we really didn't get into your story, like why you went to prison, like what it was over, like the process, or and how you got out and all that, because you would still be sitting there if it wasn't for some laws or something, right?
If it wasn't for President Trump, I'd still be sitting in prison. So anyway, I mean, like I think I talked about this on your show before. At the age of 24, I was arrested and charged in a one-count conspiracy to distribute crack cocaine. I didn't accept the government's plea offer. They superseded my indictment with 16 more counts. My mandatory minimum went from 10 to 40. And once that happened, damn, dude, we better start over.
It's okay. Go ahead. You can answer it. I could take shit out, man. I'm good like that, bro.
Okay. So like I was saying, man, I was sentenced to, 40 years. There was a one-count indictment. I didn't accept the government's plea offer, which would have been 11 to 14 years. The government superseded my indictment. Mandatory minimum was 10 to life. It went from 10 to life to 40 years, 40 to life. And I proceeded to trial. I was convicted of 2 924C counts. They stacked them, which means
sorry to interrupt you. Was it a sale charge? Was it like, how did they catch you?
No, I had a confidential informant, man, on my case. And as crazy as this might sound, this kid, Donald Molinari, from where I'm from, when I was growing up, he was like the cool kid in the neighborhood. He used to, steal bikes and sell them to us for $20, like trick bikes and all that. And, years later, I had seen him, man. He was addicted to, he was smoking crack. And when I'm driving down the street, he waves me down one day, pouring down rain. I picked the dude up, and he's like, Chad, man, please, man, give me a ride, man. And I'm like, well, where you going, man? He said, dude, honestly, I'm embarrassed to tell you, man, like I stole all the stuff out of my mother's house, and they put me up in a room for rent, and I'm going to rehab tomorrow, man. Can you give me a ride to the rehab? To the hotel. So I'm like, yeah, man. He gets in the car, really, I don't know. I was just being a kind dude that day. I got all leather interior in my car. Really don't want the dude in there because it's pouring down rain. And he asked me, Staxx, he says, hey, man, can you buy me something to eat, bro? I'm starving. So we go eat. Now, this was a kid that I had looked up to when I was a kid, man. Now he was a crackhead, right?
Yeah.
And I remember this, man, like it was yesterday. There's cars driving by. And I tell Donnie, I say, man, you see them cars, man? I said, that's your life, bro. Your life's passing by you. I think he was 31 or 32 at the time. So he says, look, man, when I get out of jail, when I get out of the rehab, will you do me a favor and give me a job? I had a home improvement company. We're doing a bunch of roofing and siding. So I'm like, yeah, man, give me a call. I give him the card. I drop him off after he gets done eating. He goes to rehab. He gets out, and he calls me. I never thought I'd ever get a call from this dude.
Are you selling drugs at this point?
Yeah, 100%. I'm selling drugs at the time.
Does he know this? Does this guy know this?
100%, man. He cops from one of my spots that I had. I had 7 or 8 crack houses in the city of Rochester.
So you're making money. You're making money doing this shit, right?
Well, of course, but I'm not. I'm not proud of the choices that I made back then, and I want to make that clear. So anyway, dude calls me. I give him a job, right? His father ended up dying. He's got nowhere to live. He's living with these other people that are getting high. He's like, Chad, I'm trying to do the right thing, man. Can you help me out? And at the time I'm married, I'm like, well, man, I got to talk to my wife, man. And, I got a finished basement. If you want, man, maybe I could let you stay there for a month till you save your money and get on your feet. And I did that for this dude, bro, because I really used to look up to dude. So anyway, long story short, bro, he ends up robbing me, man. He steals, I think it was 125 grams of crack out of,
What?
Yeah, he steals he steals a big 8, what we called a big 8 back then. And anyway, he steals that, and a week later.
How much is it for a big 8?
Well, back then, man, it was like $4 grand. It's probably a lot different now. I don't know the prices. Not in the drug game anymore, and never will be ever again. Yeah. But anyway, he steals that, and then his mom calls me. I knew his family growing up, and she says, "Chad, please don't hurt my son. He's on drugs. He made a mistake. He wants to pay you back." But I had already threatened him a few times, and did some things that I'm not proud of doing. But anyway, he calls me after his mom calls me. He says, look, man, I got some of the money, man, I robbed from you. Please, man, can I meet you at the mall? So I go to meet this clown at the mall so he can give me back the money, man. Really, I should have talked it up. Well, he had already been to the police, man. He had a wire on that night. And that's really how the case got going. And, you know, when I went to trial, I actually heard the stuff he was saying on the recording, right? And he's like, here comes this scumbag right now. Here he is. He was actually talking to the cops. And the dude was calling me a scumbag, man. I took him off the street, bro. Gave him a place to live, gave him food to eat, and he was calling me a scumbag. So that's how my case got started, man. And I lost my life over it, man. I did 17 years, 5 months, and 21 days. Some of your viewers might be wondering, you know, how I got out of prison if I had 40 years. So I'm going to tell you how. I got out after Donald Trump passed the First Step Act. I actually, you know, I'm a staff writer for Criminal Legal News, Prisoners Legal News. I wrote the first article that went out to the public about how people can get out of prison under compassionate release if they're not sick. And my argument was extraordinary and compelling reasons is that the change in the 924C stacking, which they changed, but they did not make retroactive. You know, they're talking about Joe Biden's pushing it now to make it retroactive on top of my rehabilitation. So I wrote a pro se motion and my lawyer responded and he used the words extraordinary and compelling. And that's what triggered, you know, everything else because my judge, Judge Larimer, said this is an extraordinary case that deserves an extraordinary remedy. Well, that's when the light bulbs went on. And, you know, I know you do a lot of mob stuff. So some people might be interested to know that, you know, once I filed all my stuff pro se, John Gleason, the guy who prosecuted John Gotti, who had become a federal judge for 22 years, John Gleason ended up taking my case pro bono for free, man. Wow. And let me just tell you, man, those are real lawyers. I'm from Rochester, New York. You don't see real lawyers like these lawyers. I mean, they flew in to see me. They had binders. They were fully prepared. There were 4 lawyers. It was him and his partner, Marisa Taney, Elizabeth Costello, and another lawyer. I mean, these are real lawyers, Bill. And if
it's like a blessing, man, that they got involved.
It was a blessing. And you know something, man, it's just been, you know, like I talk a lot about the law. Whenever I was a jailhouse lawyer, I've got numerous people out of prison. In fact, just the other day, I just won another case for a dude named Lawyer Campbell, 32 years. He's walking out of prison. He's in quarantine right now for 14 days. So he should probably be walking out in about 8 or 9 more days, man.
Yeah, I got some pictures of some of the people that you were with. And I pulled up some of the pictures. You know, I came prepared, man.
I'm gonna have to get you. I'm gonna have to get you on my show, Blood on the Razor Wire TV.
Yeah, man. I got some stories for you.
And you know our mission.
Who's this guy?
That was my boy, man. That was Foster Davis. And let me tell you about Foster, man. Foster was a Vietnam vet. He was the dude that taught the guys over there how sharpshooters were killing our people in Vietnam. Just old country boy from Tennessee. And he was dying, man. He was dying in prison. He did 33 years. He was dying. I wrote his compassionate release motion, and he was eventually released, man. I used to walk that dude around the compound. I took care of him. He used to get me, Bill. He used to tell me, he said, Chad, I'm going to die soon. And he used to talk in that Southern accent. He said, I need me a nacho, boy, before I die. And I made him a nacho, and 2 weeks later, he's like, you know, I'm going to die soon. I need another one of them nachos. And he got me for about 4 or 5 nacho bowls, right? But that was my partner. Yeah. I ended up getting him out of jail, man, on compassionate release. He still had 17 years left. And I got him out, and he ended up dying, man, 5 months later, man. He died.
Wow. He died a free man, though.
He died a free man. That was my partner right there, man. I went over 100 cases, Bill. Just so you know, I went over 100 cases. I got over 100 men and women out of prison.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. It really is. It's real commendable, the work that you're doing for a lot of people.
Well, I appreciate it.
Because a lot of people don't care about inmates. They're like, oh, they're serving their time. Let them just do their time. And if everyone thought like that, people would just be sitting there suffering, man.
For sure.
I know what it's like to sit in prison. It's not fun. Not when people don't care, you know?
For sure. I understand.
You got a lot of stuff done while you were in prison, too, I see.
Yeah, yeah, man. I tutored dudes in prison, man. I helped dudes learn how to read and write, dudes that couldn't read and write. Some of my students, like the picture you got up there with the little Mexican dude on the bottom, he told me, he said, man, he was ready to quit, you know, his GED, and I pushed him. He got his GED, and he wanted to sign up for the college program. He's like, Chad, I don't think I'm smart enough to get a college degree, man. And I pushed him, man. He ended up taking college courses in federal prison. And there was a point where he wrote his mom and told his mom, look, I don't want to disappoint you guys. It's just too hard for me. His English was a little bit, his English was good, but he couldn't write English well. So I actually taught him how to write, man. He ended up, not quitting college, and he ended up getting a college degree, man. His name was Ivan Ochoa. That was my buddy down there.
So a lot of these people that you were with, did they have like over 20 years? Most of them?
Oh, I've been with, like, the kid that you just showed at the top. He, I'll talk about these dudes in a minute. But the kid that was at the top, the Spanish-looking kid at the top in that picture that you had showed, yeah, with the graduation, he had 35 years. The kid on the right of him, I think he only had like 8 or 9 years. He was out of New York, a bunch of gang stuff, I think, some blood stuff. The dude on the bottom, Michael Alexander, real good dude. He had a bunch of time. I think he did almost 20 years, man, but he's out and free now. Started his own trucking company. He got an 18-wheeler doing big things, man. So that's what's up.
That's crazy, man. A lot of people go to prison and they just sit on that bunk, man, and they just eat food and watch the TV, and they don't even work out or anything,
Yeah.
There's a lot like that.
For sure.
But it sounds to me like you did a lot of positive things with your time, man, and you helped a lot of people.
Well, definitely. That's some of the homeboys right there. The kid next to me with all the tattoos, he's from Boston. He was my right-hand man. He went home and did some bullshit, man. And the kid next to him, Belcher, I did his appeal. We won his appeal. He had like 19 years. We won his appeal. I think we got 4 or 5 years off, so he's home. The dude on the bottom left right there, James Triano, the old guy with the gray in his beard.
Yeah.
Dude, he was involved in something in New York City when they were kids. And I think they chopped the dude's head off, and they talked about they were part of the Son of Sam followers. And his co-defendant hung himself in jail because he was the killer, right? He thought he was going to get 25 to life. Jimmy went to trial and won, got acquitted. But his family had to move. They were like, there's articles about them. James Triano being devil worshippers and all that stuff. But, man, he ended up becoming a drug addict, ended up in and out of prison all his life, federal prison. But, yeah, man, dude.
So with the murder charge, he won that case?
Yeah, he got acquitted, man. And his co-defendant had hung himself before the trial. And,
wow.
Yeah, he got acquitted,
You don't know what he was in prison for at this time?
Oh, drugs, man. Bank robbery and drugs. The other kid down on the bottom, that's Vinny Costanza. He only had a little bit of time, man. New to prison. Pretty much took that kid under my wing, man, and made sure he was all right in prison. I like the kid. Good kid.
You've been moved around quite a bit too, right?
Well, I've been a few different prisons, man, but a lot of that stuff comes from early on in my bid, man. Some of it relates to gang stuff that I don't usually talk about. Government made allegations that I was part of the dirty white boy gang. I'm not saying that that's true, but those were the allegations of the government. Some things happened, some violent things happened in different places, and I got transferred. So, yeah, I moved around a little bit.
So, are all federal prisons, are they all funded by the state, or some of them private?
No, I mean, federal prisons are funded by the federal government. Are there private prisons? Yeah.
Are there private federal prisons?
Yeah, but I think Joe Biden's stopping all that now. But, yeah, they got private federal prisons where they send mostly, like, dudes that are getting deported, man. Like, Jamaicans go there, and, Pakistani dudes, Mexicans, a lot of Mexicans. And they pretty much send them to them private prisons, man.
Yeah, because I heard of private state prisons.
They got private federal prisons, too.
I've never been to a private prison. I wouldn't want to either, man. It sounds like be a pretty rough go.
Some of them are hard. The food sometimes is horrible, but I mean, if you're into other things like cell phones and contraband and all that type of stuff, a lot of that stuff happens in the private prisons because they pay their people a little bit less. I mean, it happens in federal prison too, but not as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they care less, right?
I mean, people are in there trying to make money, man. I was in the CCA in Youngstown, Ohio, and the people working there, dude, were wearing jeans when I first went there and T-shirts. They didn't have uniforms. I mean, you could buy anything, man, from sex to cell phones to drugs to whatever you wanted, dude.
Yeah, I've been to a couple state prisons that were pretty crazy, man. You walk in, people are tattooing, you smell weed in the air. It's like, what the fuck? You're like, where am I, man?
When I walked into Big Sandy, it was like that. You hear me? Big Sandy, man, the cops over there, most of the cops, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of the cops were scared, man. As soon as I walked in there, you smelled cigarette smoke, and dudes were playing cards. I was in a unit where dudes used to tell the cop, "Hey, give me the extension cord. I'm about to make some moonshine." The cop would give it to him. I mean, yeah, Big Sandy was off the hook, man.
Dude, I was in one yeah, I was in a county one time, and the prisoner took a shit and put it on the CO's chair.
Yeah.
And then CO sat in it, man. They were so pissed off, man.
I've seen crazy things like that in New York State prison, man, because I did time in New York State, in state prison too, when I was 16 for an assault. And you had a bad cop. I seen dudes light the cop's chair on fire and do all that type of stuff.
Yeah, man, they do all kinds of crazy things like that. So what's going through your mind when you hear that they're gonna switch the charges and change it from 10 years to 40? Like, what are you thinking? Like, my life is over?
Oh, I knew I was definitely in trouble. It wasn't about they were talking about switching it. They switched it. They superseded the indictment, went from 1 count to 16 counts. They took me to court. My mandatory minimum went from 10 to life to 40 to life.
So were you in, like, you were locked up? You didn't get bond?
No, definitely not. I was denied as a danger to the community. So
what got you caught up involved with even getting involved with selling drugs? Was it just like
no, let me tell you. I mean, I came from a poor family, man. My father was a drug addict. My mother was a single mother, struggling, to take care of me and my sister and stuff. And I think, man, at the age of 13 or 14, I was tired of being broke. And I started thinking about, damn, I want a car when I'm 16. And honestly, I thought about a lot of the kids, man, that were from the suburbs. They were all getting cars when they were 16. And I knew my mother wasn't going to get me a car. My father had died, and my brother had committed suicide. And I'm like, man,
sorry for your loss, man.
It's all right. Hey, it's a part of life. We had it rough, man. So I was just like, I'm done with this. A couple of my friends were selling drugs in the neighborhood, and I'm like, I want to sell drugs too. At first, it was a starter jacket. You remember them triple fat starter goose jackets?
Yeah, I had the Knicks one, man.
And then I wanted a pair of Bo Jacksons, and I said, if I just sell a little bit of this, I can get that. And it kind of went that way, man. And from there, listen, it's like this. I don't care, man. If you're an entrepreneur, I don't care what business it is. Either you're going to do good or you're not, Yeah. And I had that hustler mentality since I was a kid, even before that stuff, man. I'd go out and shovel driveways. I'd cut grass. I'd carry grocery bags. I was hustling, and that was just stepping up the hustle. And once I got the sneakers and the jacket and, some clothes, then I wanted a car. So the hustle never stopped, and I just kept pushing forward.
Yeah. So were you catching cases as you were being brought up, like as the years were going by?
I caught cases, but not really drug cases. When I caught a drug case, I went to state prison, came home. Honestly, I was only home 14 months from a violation that I just did 22 months on. And I caught that Fed case, and I got a 40-year sentence.
So after you got out, you didn't stop? When you got out from the state time, you just kept going?
Jumped right back in the game and ended up with 40 years. And I've been home now, a year? What's today, July? Wow, ain't that something? I've been home 1 year and 1 month on the 25th.
Wow. And looks like you're doing good, man.
Definitely doing good, trying to do good, trying to help other people. Like I said, man, on my channel, on the Razor Wire TV, we got a mission to save kids from life imprisonment and premature death. I interview people just like you do. I give some of my own reflections on my experiences in prison, trying to do some big things. And I own a paralegal and prison consultant firm. Just like I said, just got a dude out that had 32 years. The week before that, I think we got a dude out. Delion Banks, he had, I want to say 63 years or 67 years. So he just walked out free. I never stopped. I told dudes when I left prison, I would be their voice, and I'm that voice. And I'm still pushing. I'm still working.
And you kept your word, man. A lot of people get out and they just keep moving on with their life, and they don't care about the people that are left behind there,
Well, when you do that much time, let me just keep it real with you. When you do that much time, it becomes a part of your life. It's not easy to forget. You know, some people say, when I get out of here, I'm going to put this place behind me. How can I? That's where I spent 18 years of my life, bro. How can I forget that? How can I forget what it's like to struggle, or for the dudes that are left behind that got no voice? You know, I don't forget that. I know what it was like to be in there begging people to help me, and no one would. I had to help myself. But I'm out here helping. Some dudes can't help themselves. Some dudes can't read right. Some dudes don't even know if they got a legal issue. They just gave up. They're just sitting in prison because they can't read. If you can't read, how can you help yourself?
Yeah. So how do you go about picking these people that you're going to write the appeals for? Are they people that you already been locked up with, or is it like do you just go through the files and pick people? Or
no, I mean, we got a paralegal and prison consultant firm, right? And my partner is a lady that ran the federal defender's office for over 22 years, Lisa Jacoby. So it is a profit business, right? It's not a nonprofit. Do we do some pro bono cases? 100%. For example, I had a lady call me. She said, "Chad, I'm a single mother. You know, I work part-time at McDonald's. I get partial welfare. My husband's got 40 years. I need help." You know what I did? I jumped into action. I just did this. I did it for free. I did it for free because, you know, she was straight up and she needed help. So I did it. Other people, people pay us. Like, for example, the rapper Lil Baby. I've talked about this before. His father was one of my real close friends in prison, his real father. You know, his case has been submitted for over a year. I'm helping that dude. Russell Simmons' son, I charged him, but I got him back into court on a 2255. He hired a paralegal consultant firm, and they destroyed his motion. I had 1 week to write it. I wrote it from my jail cell. He's back in court, just had a hearing, waiting on the decision. So, I mean, that's what I do, man. Freedom Fighter Paralegal and Prison Consultant firm.
That's awesome, man. It really is.
I appreciate you.
I look forward to coming on your show too, man. We talked about it before. I got a lot of stories. I was involved. I wasn't involved, but I was there when a riot happened, and seen some pretty crazy things, man.
Well, maybe we'll be able to do it this week, man. I'll hook it up so we can do it this week.
Yeah, definitely. I'm available. And you want to tell the people where they could get your book, Blood on the Razor Wire?
Okay, Blood on the Razor Wire. Let me see. You can get that book. This is a promise, too. You can get this book right here on Amazon, or you can get it from us directly at freedomfighterspc@gmail.com. Just send us an email. We'll send you back the information, get a signed copy. But most importantly, you know, people watching your show, check out my YouTube channel, Blood on the Razor Wire TV. We bring it real. We bring it raw. I promise you will not be disappointed. You know, we have a mission, and our mission is real. And you'll see that as you watch the videos.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll put a link in the description below. And I'll have you back on, man. We'll chop it up again. And I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, man.
Not a problem, man. I appreciate you for having me, man.
Definitely. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. Till next time, man. Peace.
Hey, listen to me.